first thing we need to do is make our play game function. This here in the prototype, this name, by example, I'm going to change it because it actually doesn't matter. The prototype, when you're prototyping, it only actually looks at the value. Okay, so the value, but because this is the actual function, we need to write it. So we can, to prove that, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to gnumber, alright, instead of the full game number. Okay. Now let's clear the screen. Now there's a DOS function called system. Okay, so if you want to do a direct DOS call, and this is a pro tip here, guys. It's called system. You can run any and absolutely all DOS commands using the system, including executing other programs within your own. How awesome is that? Alright, you can write batch files and things like that, and you can call them within your programs and things like that. Very nice. Now the DOS function we're going to use is to clear the screen. Okay, it's called CLS. So if you open DOS right now and you type CLS, it's going to clear the window. That's what the CLS command is, and we've just called it. So it's going to make sure there's nothing else on the screen. It's going to clear it for our game. It's going to be a black DOS box, or if you're full screen, it's going to be a giant black screen. It's going to look much nicer that way than seeing all those old DOS lines in there. Okay, now this line here is a debug line. I'm going to comment it out. Now, cout, we're going to debug, it's for debug, game number. That way we always know what the game number is when we're debugging. In your retail version, or the one you're going to release to your friends, you don't want this line executed, right? For yours, like this, when you're debugging your program, keep it like this. We'll fix it after. Okay, debug. And we're going to tell, we're going to say what the number actually is, so we always know. Alright, now int guess is equal to 0, and loop, reloop is equal to 0. Alright, so we're going to use that. Now we're going to start the actual game. Welcome to the Number Master. I will outsmart you. You have tell them how many tries they have to get the number. You have so many tries to guess the number between 1 and give them the number. And then from there, just end the lines. Alright, so we say now, welcome to the Number Master, I'm going to outsmart you, and so forth. You have this many tries. It'll tell them how many tries they have to guess the number between 1 and however many they chose in the menu. Alright, pretty nice. Now we're going to start that loop. We use a for loop for int I equals to 1. I is not equal to 1 plus, because remember, things start from 0 in C++. The global variable is no exception. So when we set max tries to something, it's going to be actually 1 less than that. So you want to add 1 plus the max tries, and then increment I1. This works too. Alright. So now that we have the initial loop, we're going to need to test if they guessed below 0 or above, like say it's 1 to 50 and they guess 57. We don't want to take that away from their max number of tries, so we're going to test for that as well. So what we need to do is make a reloop. If reloop is equal to 1, and we'll say free guess, so we'll know in the future what that is. Okay, it could be specified below, because there's going to be a lot of text output now as we're driving the game program. Okay, now for this we want to set reloop to 0 because we're in the loop now and we don't want it to keep going. So we're going to want to break that. Okay, I minus minus, which means we're going to bring I back down. Okay, we've added to it, we want to bring it back down so it doesn't get trapped. Okay, so that they do actually get that free guess. Okay, so now let's tell them to start guessing. Okay, so their guess, and we want to get that. Okay, so basically what I've done here is we're going to say guess, and then we're going to tell them what guess number it is. So it'll say, as they're going, it'll say this is guess 1, guess 2, guess 5, guess 20, and so on and so forth. So they know how many tries they added. Once you play the game, you're gonna see. But let's get this in here first. Now let's get their guess. All right. Now if their guess is less than 1, right, or their guess is greater than the maximum guess allowed, this is where we actually do that test for the reloop function. The reloop up here, this is where we test it for. We're going to actually test if they've broken our game rules or not. Alright, so now we're going to tell them, you screwed up, alright, but we're not going to hold it against you. Just remind them. And we're going to tell them you can try again, okay? Just like that. So we told them, you know what, you've guessed outside the boundaries, we're going to let you try again, and we're going to set the reloop to 1. The reloop basically just takes 1 off their maximum number of guesses, alright? So that's not the end of the if statement. We're going to do else if, so we don't have to do each and every check. If the guess is less than the number that was generated, okay, if it's less than greater number, good try, friend, but you know what, our number's higher, you're going to have to try again. Okay? Now if I is equal to max tries, return play again. Else if the guess is greater than the game number, tell them the number is lower. Let them refine their search, kind of like a guessing game, like a high-low type game is pretty much what this is, high-low. Same thing, if the game loop I, is equal to their maximum number of tries, then return play again. So play again is basically going to call another function. It's going to say, do you want to play again? They're going to say yes or no. If they say no, it's going to set the value to 0. It's going to go back to the main loop up here. It's not going to be 1, so it's going to go back to show menu. If they press 1, it's because when it returns, it's going to return right here. So if they say yes, and we set it to 0, and it returns that value playing to 0, and it loops back up, it's going to say 0, it's going to do it all again. If that number, they say no, we'll set the variable to 1, and it'll reach the end, it'll say, oh, okay, it's not right, and it's going to exit. Thanks for playing. It's going to clean up and exit, so on and so forth. So that's what I'm doing right here. We'll get into more detail after this. So that's the end of the grader one.